How high can this man fly? Michael Jordan is soaring, and the Chicago Bulls are going right with him. Jordan is averaging 38 points a game in the first 2 playoff rounds. But now, Superman faces his toughest test. Game 1 will tell if Detroit's road has been too easy, while the Bulls come off the biggest win in the history of their franchise.
Welcome to Green Sports!
What's good, guys? Prince Sports here. So, we're going to go over documented proof from Isiah Thomas and the Bad Boy Pistons, from the players themselves and people that covered that team during the time frame where they came up with the Jordan rules. To say that they didn't worry about Michael Jordan would be a very, very understating word, because guess what? Michael Jordan was on their mind like white on rice. Heavy. God body heavy. Check this out.
Think about it, I made a list for you. Defense, rebounds, Jordan. Follow the Jordan rules. And I said, what are the Jordan rules? They said simply, when he goes to the bathroom, we all go with him. Let's go back to that.
To whoever Michael was guarding, make him work on the other end. If he had to guard Joe, get shots for Joe. If he had to guard Isiah, God help him.
2 seconds, 1 second, Isiah at the bucket.
So there you have it, documented proof, the truth, coming up with receipts. Whenever Jordan got the ball, they put the best defensive players on Michael Jordan, right? Then you make him work. So whoever Jordan was guarding, that's the guy that would get his own shot off. This was a master plan. It's just brilliance of how they was able to execute and try to downplay one of the greatest basketball players of all time. The greatest basketball player of all time to most people. But they said to hell with all of that. We got a way to beat this guy. We can't stop him individually. The Pistons already said that. But we're going to stop this guy collectively as a group, because everybody else on that team is not a threat. The only threat is Michael Jordan. Okay? And this has been documented. They have said that. Period. Let's continue.
Second part of the Jordan rules is that, you send Joe Dumars somewhere else, all of a sudden you got 6'7", 6'8" Dennis Rodman on you. And Dennis Rodman was a physical player, and he would be hitting Jordan, hitting him, moving his feet. And Jordan didn't like that. The other thing about the Jordan rules is you had to be physical with him. If Jordan got loose, he was going to get hit, and he knew it.
Jordan left wing. Jordan to the foul line, room in the lane. Isiah grabs him and fouls him.
Only way you were going to slow him down or get him to think about what he was doing, coming inside and jumping in the air, was to at least give him the thought that he could get hurt.
The thing about Jordan, which made him great, is he was able to take the pain, take the physical play, and still play his game. But it was a lot easier for Jordan to do this against other teams than it was for the Pistons, because other teams said, well, we're going to do the Jordan rules too, but they didn't have the defensive players to pull it off like the Pistons did.
Facts. Physicality worked on Michael Jordan for this particular team because they had all the defensive pieces to do that and execute it right. But that didn't work constantly on the Lakers. It didn't work constantly on the Celtics because they had enough firepower to combat the Detroit Pistons. This is where team basketball comes into play. Winning a championship is on a team. It's a team accomplishment. Documented facts. Now, as talented as the Detroit Pistons was, they were the Golden State Warriors before the Golden State Warriors, minus Kevin Durant, of course. But at the same time, as I'm saying that, they still needed a game plan to stop Michael Jordan on a Chicago Bulls team that was pretty much a threat to almost no teams in the NBA. So that alone has to get you thinking, what will the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons be if they both peaked at the same time? Imagine if the Bulls were just as good as the Detroit Pistons. Who would come out on top then? Because the Detroit Pistons always had an advantage on a team-wise standpoint. As a matter of fact, the 76ers with Moses Malone was a much better team than the Chicago Bulls. They really wasn't a threat for most of the 80s. But nevertheless, they still needed a game plan for Michael Jordan. And thus, they created the Jordan rules.
Felt that Bill Cartwright needed to score 40, then Bill Cartwright can score 40.
Cartwright. No call. Blocked by Isiah Thomas. Here's Dumars.
He wouldn't give up. That's what I would say about Michael Jordan. He would not give up.
Isolation play for Jordan. And Isiah Thomas ties him up.
Defensively, the Pistons are now pointing totally.
Now, when it comes to the Detroit Pistons, we got to put things in perspective. We're talking about the Jordan rules and how they were able to stop Jordan, but the Chicago Bulls shouldn't have been much of a threat in the 80s because they were never on the same level as the Pistons, Lakers, and Celtics. But those three teams were all on the same level. Doesn't matter who you thought was favorites. They were all three deadly teams and were all on an equal playing field. There was no super teams. Larry Bird didn't went to the Lakers. Isiah Thomas didn't went to the Celtics. None of that. But what we did have in the bad boy Detroit Pistons was Isiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, three All-Stars. Dennis Rodman spent his All-Star years while he was playing on the Detroit Pistons. And this is not a Draymond Green situation because he actually earned the right to be called the All-Star because he was defensively stopping guys, okay? Putting the clamps on some of the best players in the game at the time. Can't say the same thing for Draymond Green. Another story, another day. But outside of those three guys, you had Adrian Dantley. He didn't stay with the team, but he still was on it. You had Mark Aguirre, Bill Laimbeer, the Microwave, Vinnie Johnson. They had some of the best role players on their team. And everybody came together and played their role to perfection. The Detroit Pistons were a beastly mode of a team, okay? So, rather this guy was favored over that guy, when it came to those three teams, you could go either way because they were split 50-50 even. Can't say the same thing for the Bulls, though, because Bulls were never even supposed to be mentioned in the same sentence with those teams. You better off mentioning the 76ers with Moses Malone and Dr. J more than mentioning the Chicago Bulls of the 80s. Like, come on, man. What are we even talking about when it comes to championship contenders? They had one superstar on the team with a bunch of guys developing. Okay, so it's just as simple as that.
Is that something you guys made up?
Jordan rules were, to stop him, period, because nobody else could beat you on that ball club.
So there you have it. Documented proof. Facts. Do you think the Pistons would have beat the Bulls if Jordan was playing with Kareem and James Worthy? I think not. They only beat the Bulls for the most part is because the Bulls wasn't ready. Only one superstar